Part 112. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 1111. Chapter 1111 Mine, Princess Li Yulai. We all know who he likes in his heart, but I am his wife now. You are also a mother. Please, for the sake of the child in my belly, don't let Luo miss her anymore, okay? I beg you. Zhonyun used the child as a shield and successfully penetrated Ye Weiwei's heart. Since everyone thinks that the child in Zhonyun's belly is Nangang Luo's child, Ye Weiwei has no legitimate reason to let a complete family fall apart because of Gongqin Li, right? There was just a hurdle in her heart, one foot stepped over it, and the other stayed in the same place. Zhonyun's phone call with Ye Weiwei wasn't long, but Ye Weiwei was almost convinced by Zhonyun. As Gongqin Li's best friend, she actually hates Zhonyun. If Zhonyun had not appeared, if Zhonyun had not been pregnant, then Gongqin Li, who had already understood her own feelings, could be with Nangang Luo. It just so happened that Zhonyun was pregnant with Nangang Luo's child. Things like this that happen between adults may be a temporary infatuation, but the existence of children sets the relationship between everyone in a certain position. Child. For a mother who has lost a child, the child is the weakness. Even if it is someone else's child, it happens to poke Ye Weiwei's heart. Zhonyun answered the only call from Ye, but she didn't have Nangang Luo's mobile phone password and couldn't delete the call history. When Nangang Luo came back to get his mobile phone, Zhonyun told him calmly, "Mrs. Ye just called me twice. I was afraid that it was urgent, so I answered it for you." Zhonyun carefully observed Nangang Luo's expression when he said this. Nangang Luo has a good temper and doesn't care much about such trivial matters. He only warned, "Don't touch my phone casually in the future." While flipping through the records on his cell phone, he asked, "What did you say on the phone?" Zhonyun hesitated and told him, "It's Miss Gong, she's going abroad." "What did you say?" "Miss Gong is going abroad to attend a training." Zhonyun paused deliberately in the middle of her words. After seeing Nangang Luo's questioning eyes, she opened her mouth and continued the second half of the sentence, "For half a year. Gongqin Li will go abroad for training for half a year." Nangang Luo's expression suddenly changed. He couldn't wait to call Gongqin Li, but the other party's phone had been turned off. The cold artificial reply voice was heard particularly clearly in this quiet atmosphere. Zhonyun lowered her head and remained silent. Sometimes it is better to say nothing and let others find the loopholes is the wisest choice. As for why she guessed the purpose of Zhonggai Weiwei's phone call, and why she clearly knew Gongqin Li's training and flight time, then I have to thank Dr. Gu. Of course, these truths will remain a secret forever. Gongqin Li's cell phone was turned off. Nangang Luo called Ye Weiwei desperately to get the details, but the only thing Ye could tell him was, "Lu Li is gone." She said, "I wish you happiness." He. His hands suddenly dropped to his sides, and he sat down weakly. Suddenly stood up and walked to the bed, grabbing his hair with both hands. I heard the faint sound of a plane passing by. He looked up at the sky and seemed to see the trajectory of the plane. Suddenly he felt a severe pain in his heart. He put his hand lightly in front of him and said silently in his heart, "I wish you happiness, my Princess Li Yulai." Two fools. Lu Li is gone, the question arises. 1. Will Li Yulai really come back in half a year? 2. Is Nuanuan still alive? 3. Is Anran really not destined to be a mother? 4. Hit the key points. Li Yulai will give you a big surprise when she appears again. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 1112. Chapter 1112 Zhonyun's True Purpose. After Gongqin Li left, many things changed. The Gong family still has contacts with the Nangang family, but the relationship is not as close as before. On the contrary, The Zhon family is rushing to build a relationship with the Nangong family, which makes Mrs. Nangong complain quite a bit. But considering that Zhon Yun was pregnant with the child, she had no choice but to endure it. Because Mrs. Nangong found that her son was not very enthusiastic about his wife, and it could even be said that he didn't care. Of course Mrs. Nangong knew that her son belonged to someone else, or she married Zhon Yun just to be responsible, but since she had already married into her family, she couldn't be too indifferent to others, right? Nangong Luo and Zhon Yun's marriage did not hold a wedding, and no one was invited. This incident made the Zhon family not very satisfied, and also made Mrs. Nangong feel a little guilty about Zhon Yun, always thinking of being good to her. A little. In other words, she hopes that her son can let go of the unrequited feelings. So while Zhon Yun was away, Mrs. Nangong pulled Nangong Luo and said a few words. Luo, Mom knows that you are busy with work every day, but you must know how to combine work and rest. Your wife is neglected. Nangong Luo replied with the same words as always, Mom, I have a sense of propriety. Don't bother me. Ever since you moved out, I heard that you haven't been home for 3 days. Mom, I didn't go home because I was working overtime. I didn't go out to do anything else. You have a reason, but you left your wife at home in the cold. You might as well let her go back to Nangong's house to live with us, and it will be easier to take care of her. Zhon Yun is willing to live outside. That's because people want to be alone with you, but you live in the company all day long. I think you have more personal belongings in the office than at home. Mom, if you don't believe me, ask her yourself. Mrs. Nangong only talked about her son in this kind of matter. How could she really interfere so much? Mrs. Nangong just felt that her son didn't understand the style, but everything she did was for her son, so how could she really go against him? Forget it, you heartless brat, you might as well be like Zhon Yun, just come and accompany me when you have time. Mrs. Nangong just said it casually, but her words caught Nangong Luo's attention. Really, does Zhon Yun often accompany you to relieve your boredom? Mrs. Nangong did not understand the true meaning of the sentence. She also told the truth to Nangong Luo, saying that Zhon Yun often asked her out and went shopping with her to appreciate things. The relationship between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law was quite harmonious. Nangong Luo finally dealt with Mrs. Nangong, but Nangong Luo, who had not been home for 5 days, finally went back today. Zhon Yun received a call from Nangong Luo and specially prepared a sumptuous dinner. If a real husband came home and saw this table full of delicacies, he would definitely cherish his wife very much. But Nangong Luo's heart was not disturbed, because he came back just to remind Zhon Yun, try not to get too close to the Nangong family in the future. Zhon Yun asked, why? When you give birth to the child, our cooperation will end. If you get involved with the Nangong family, you will be entangled. Zhon Yun understood, are you afraid that I will pester your Nangong family? Nangong Luo replied casually, you are thinking too much. At the beginning, you said you were moving out to cover up our fake marriage. I have no objection. But if you just avoid them, I'm afraid it will make the elders in the family dissatisfied. Zhon Yun, you don't need to think about this. Our common goal is to let the child be born safely. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1113. Chapter 1113 Wife, I feel wronged. Nangong Luo warned Zhon Yun, and Zhon Yun seemed to have listened. She found reasons to avoid Mrs. Nangong for a while. Until one day, something happened to Zhon Yun. Zhon Yun accidentally fell down when she was alone and had fetal contamination. After learning the news, Mrs. Nangong rushed to the hospital and felt very sorry for Zhon Yun. Although, the more reason is that Mrs. Nangong cares very much about her grandson. But after this incident happened, Mrs. Nangong insisted on taking Zhonyun back to Nangong's house, saying that she would take good care of her. Nangong Luo's objections were ineffective, but his favorable impression of Zhonyun dropped a lot. Zhonyun came to him specifically to apologize, "I'm sorry about this, but I want to stay here this time." "Zhonyun, don't push yourself too far. Listen to my explanation." "I listened to everything you told me. I followed your request to avoid the Nangong family, but it was only after I was admitted to the hospital that I realized that protecting the children is the most important thing." Zhonyun gained everyone's favor at Nangong's house by virtue of the child in her belly. Even Nangong Luo saw the long-lost smile on old man Nangong's face. Just because of a child, the Nangong family seems to be more happy. After seeing the joy of his family, Nangong Luo chose to turn a blind eye, and sometimes even felt that it would be good to settle for the status quo. Because with Zhonyun as a shield, no one forced him to marry and have children. He could keep his beloved girl in his heart for the rest of his life. I heard that Gongqin Li performed well during training. I heard that Guchensi specifically applied for transfer for Gongqin Li. In fact, foreign medical schools are eager for all talented people to change jobs. Many things change with the passage of time. It is said that the most changeable thing is the human heart, but sometimes it is the human heart that is the most steadfast. Time flies by like a white horse, and winter enters in a blink of an eye. A city, which does not see snow all year round, actually had snow in winter for 2 consecutive years. It snowed again this year. Ye Wei stood in front of the window, receiving the first snowfall of this year in his palm. The 2 children probably saw that no one was paying attention to them, so they started crying on the bed. The boss had a loud voice and cried so hard that he didn't shed a single tear. Lao Er cried softly, but she truly confirmed the saying girls are made of water, and she shed tears as soon as she blinked her eyes. Ye Wei picked up the eldest child and placed it on Yezikin, while he held the second child and coaxed him. "If you are good, mommy is holding you and you won't cry." I saw the eldest brother Ye Qingfeng lying on his biological father's body. Suddenly, he was picked up by Yezikin's hands and held up in the air. The eldest son immediately turned from crying to laughing, giggling so happy. Yezikin stopped pretending to be asleep. After getting up, he handed the boss to Ye Wei and made a very sincere request, "Honey, let's make an exchange." He means to take care of the children in exchange. However, Ye Wei just hummed and walked far away with his in his arms, so he didn't exchange it with him, because the boss was really naughty. "My son is yours, don't try to throw him away." Mr. Chen, who is a wise man outside the country, feels aggrieved when facing his young wife at home, "My daughter is mine too." Ye Wei turned around and looked directly at him. Suddenly, the corners of her mouth curved deeply, echoing his words and placing her daughter on him, "What's yours is yours, leave it all to you." However, the mother still cares about her children the most, and she took the 2 children back after joking. By the time she had fed the 2 children, Yezikin had long since disappeared. The second child goes to bed after eating, while the eldest child is the most energetic. Ye Wei wanted to carry him to the windowsill to watch the snow, but found. Take a look at Brother Chen's cuteness. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1114. Chapter 1114 Gongqin Li's belly is bulging. I don't know when, there was a snowman downstairs. Ye Wei looked at it in surprise. Even his eldest son smiled and stretched out his little arm to point at the snowman downstairs. He is too young to go out to catch the cold. But the only thing Ye knew was that it was Yezikin's promise. She promised to build a snowman with her every year when it snowed, but last year she was not allowed to do it because she was pregnant, so this year she built it by herself. The original intention is fulfilled, That's probably it. Ching Feng, can you stop being naughty in the future and learn from your dad to be a mature, steady, and responsible man? Okay. Ye Wei grabbed the child's two restless little hands and said a long list of words to him, words he didn't understand. However, the boss smiled back with dignity and reached out to touch her face. As soon as Yezikin entered the house, he saw the naughty kid behaving badly on Ye Wei's face. At that time, he almost yelled, "Don't take advantage of my wife." But thinking that such words were really stupid, Yezikin went over to the person away, pretending to be serious and said, "He is too noisy, I will take care of him." What is the relationship between Ye Wei and Yezikin? Can she still know Yezikin's thoughts? Hold it up to save face, but when he turned his back, he burst out laughing. She wanted to go down to see the snowman, but Yezikin stopped her. "It's cold outside, but it's warm inside." She answered smoothly, "Yes, it's warm." As soon as he finished speaking, Ye Wei's expression changed. The sincere smile just now had disappeared without a trace because she thought of her third daughter, Mo Xiang Nuan. Nuan Nuan. Even though so much time has passed, once her memories are brought back, she feels extremely painful inside. Even if she has never had any real contact with that child has appeared in her life, and now that it has disappeared, it is destined to become a permanent scar on her heart, a scar that cannot be healed. Ye Wei tilted his head slightly and covered his mouth with his hands, tears flashing in his eyes. Biting her lip with her teeth, she tried hard not to make a sound. But once the emotion came out, he couldn't help but let out a small sob. "My Nuan, will you see this first snow like me?" Yezikin held her son with one hand and gently hugged her into her arms with the other hand. All the comfort was in silence. Just because he doesn't say it doesn't mean he doesn't feel distressed. On the contrary, it was precisely because of his heartache that he couldn't speak. He couldn't even say the only words to persuade Ye not to be sad, because he was not feeling well inside either. Perhaps, somewhere far away, there is a baby sitting on the bed, babbling and looking at the snowflakes outside the window. As the new year approaches, everything around us starts to become lively and bright. Ye Wei had just finished feeding her child when she received a video pop-up from Gongkin Li. Through the video, Ye Wei pushed the stroller with two children in front of her to show off to her. After reading it, Gongkin Li commented specifically, "Well, not bad, my godson and goddaughter are really good looking." The two of them were chatting about ordinary things in the video, and suddenly they heard Gongkin Li's roommate's name. Gongkin Li turned to her roommate and waved her hand. "Hey, come on. If you have something to do, go and do it." Gongkin Li joked with her before leaving the camera, and seemed to have returned to the cheerful Li Yulai before. When Gongkin Li stood up, Ye Wei blinked. Before he could see clearly, the video had been hung up. She didn't know if her perspective was wrong when she glanced at her. Why did she feel that Gongkin Li's belly was bulging? Everything depends on the title, he. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1115. Chapter 1115. I was the one who worked hard at night, tired. The lively new year is coming soon. Because two children were added to the family, the originally deserted Yejia villa became very lively. The relationship between Ye Wei and Mrs. Ye has also become more and more harmonious because of the two children. Feng Zhiruo, come to grandma. Children over half a year old can already crawl. The girl is quiet and the boy is active. The eldest child must be watched by someone at all times, otherwise he will climb up and down and be restless at all. Mrs. Eve used to be a noble lady, but now she has been promoted to a grandmother. She is willing to accompany her grandson and granddaughter all day long, and is very tolerant of the two children. Yezikin, his biological son, had never received such treatment when he was a child. Comparing this, the two children are so happy. The only thing I can enjoy at night is leisure. During the new year, everyone starts visiting each other. Gong Kinli is missing this year, but Xiaoziun's arrival is an unexpected surprise. Xiaoziun, who has officially entered the acting industry, is very unfree. In the past 6 months, he has had a 100-day banquet with his 2 children. But this new year, she had time to visit relatives and friends, and when visiting friends, she even brought her boyfriend with her. Ye Wei heard that Xiaoziun was coming and originally said that he would pick her up at the airport in person. But Xiaoziun refused directly and said, "I've been in S city for 2 days and I don't need you to pick me up." Xiaoziun spoke directly and had no other meaning. Ye Wei was curious, "Then where do you live now? Why didn't you tell me earlier? Xiaoziun's home is not here. If she comes to S city, wouldn't she be alone? Oh. Etc." I remembered, Xiaoziun's home is not here, but her boyfriend's home is. When Ye was the only one to react, Xiaoziun happily told her, "Xingyi and I are together. We have agreed to come visit you together. I miss those 2 little darlings." So many years have passed, Xiaoziun has changed from the little girl who didn't understand love and didn't believe in love to a woman who loves love. Her character is still as cute as before, and the things she does are much calmer than before. Ever since the accident in college, Xiaoziun has kept her word and has never had a random boyfriend again. She worked hard to achieve her goals and finally got closer to Han Xingyi. The superior male she looked up to at the beginning has now become her equal boyfriend. The most rare thing is that others often say that the entertainment industry is a mixed bag of good and bad, and it is most likely to cause trouble, but these 2 people have stayed true to their original intentions and remained consistent. This kind of fate can be encountered but cannot be sought. Xiaoziun said he was coming and showed up in front of their house that day. Xiaoziun and Han Xingyi came in one after another. Han Xingyi was holding a bunch of big and small bags in his hands. "Wow, did you bring so many things?" Xiaoziun pointed out a few items and explained to her, "I brought them back when I was shooting abroad. The skincare products are for you. And these are clothes and toys for the children. There are a lot of them." Before she had time to explain, she couldn't wait to see the 2 children. "Xiao Qingfeng and Xiao Zhiruo are so cute, I want to have one." Han Xingyi immediately agreed, "Then just give birth to one. Go, 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 it's not you who's in pain, it's so easy to say. So, I'm the one doing the hard work at night, I'm tired." Han Xingyi, how come you can say everything? Oh, we are all adults. The CP designed in the play will roughly tell everyone the ending. There is not much plot between Xiaoziun and Han Xingyi, it is just a transition time for Li Yulai to leave. But, the ending of the 2 of them may be, not very good. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1116. Chapter 1116, Driving a Baby Carriage. "Hey, you are driving in front of my son and daughter," Ye Wei warned with a smile. Han Xingyi touched the tip of his nose and said, "Baby stroller." They are too familiar with each other and are of the same generation. They occasionally make dirty jokes, but as long as they are not excessive, they can only be used to lighten the atmosphere. It can be seen that the relationship between Xiaoziun and Han Xingyi is very stable. "Have you already met your parents? When do you plan to get married?" "Well, in terms of our careers, it's not a good time to get married. The 2 of them are on the rise in their careers, and their agency has restricted them from announcing their relationship to the public. If there are rumors of marriage, it would be even more impossible." Ye Wei realized this and quickly changed his words, "That's okay, you still have time." But Xiaoziun laughed meaningfully, "There's no rush. Hoshino and I have decided to pick a good day to get the certificate secretly without telling the company. Wow, so exciting. This news is an unexpected surprise. Excited, life must be full of excitement to keep it fresh, I'm happy. Xiaoziun took Han Xingyi's hand and raised her head to face him. Yes, yes, my God, what you promised to marry me won't go uncounted, right? Han Xingyi looked down at his girlfriend, who was shorter than him. He stretched out his hand and lightly scratched the tip of her nose. He said with a doting tone, Goddess Xia, I am your little crush. The interaction between these two people is really, quite a show. Ye Wei had no choice but to pick up her two children and lift them up high, as if to counterattack the two lovers who showed affection regardless of the occasion. If you have the ability, bring your children to see me next year. Xiaoziun snorted unyieldingly, I'll see you soon. It's just a show of verbal prestige. Even the marriage must be hidden. How dare you get pregnant and give birth to a child directly? Xiaoziun and Han Xingyi came to visit, and Ye Wei got a lot of news from them. It turns out that Xiaoziun's main purpose of taking time out to visit relatives and friends in S City was to meet Han Xingyi's parents. Because Han Xingyi is also in the entertainment industry, Han Xingyi's parents are very tolerant of Xiaoziun's career, who is also an actress, and they also like her lively and cheerful personality, so they had a very pleasant meeting with their parents this time. Although these two people are only in their 20s, they have experienced a lot of ups and downs. Especially Han Xingyi, who fell from the clouds and returned to the shining stage again. Although he is not old enough, he may have experienced more ups and downs than some people who have an ordinary life. Let's talk about Xiaoziun. She used to change her boyfriend as she changed her clothes according to her mood, but the person or thing she really identified with would not change easily. So after she decided not to fall in love casually, the person she was with, after all, he is the man she really likes. She once felt that she was not worthy, but now she has worked hard to get closer. Moreover, the two of them were not blinded by the temptations of the entertainment industry, but continued to pursue their original dreams. After the holiday, Xiaoziun and Han Xingyi returned to their original work. Han Xingyi is about to hold a tour, and Xiaoziun has various announcements to attend. Xiaoziun has a good sense of variety show. With her high emotional intelligence, she is quite popular with the audience, and she was unexpectedly praised by a director. Soon, she received an invitation to audition. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Ixie. Chapter 1117. Chapter 1117. The audition girl was bullied. Xiaoziun has a lot of resources in the entertainment industry, but she has not really encountered a role that made her famous. This time I was asked to audition unexpectedly, and that work turned out to be a popular novel adaptation and a major drama of the year. Xiaoziun specifically baited that work and found that the starring role has not been confirmed yet, and netizens have a lot of recommendations, saying who and so are suitable for the protagonist and supporting role. Xiaoziun became more and more excited as she watched. If she seizes the opportunity and succeeds in the audition this time, she might become famous. Xiaoziun couldn't wait to finish reading the million-word novel, and deeply analyzed and understood the characters' personalities. Xiaoziun is no longer a newcomer to the entertainment group. As long as she is given a chance, she will seize every opportunity to work hard to climb up. She came prepared for the audition. Because of her thorough analysis of characters, her acting skills and emotions are unique and in place. The director nodded repeatedly when he saw her, and immediately pointed at her and praised her a few more times. Xiaoziun went back happily to wait for the results. She received a notice the next day, inviting her to join the crew, and she would be the heroine. The longed-for good luck suddenly fell from the sky, and Xiaoziun was so happy that he couldn't express it in words. She specifically called to share the news of her successful audition with Han Xingyi. Han Xingyi could not wait to be teleported to her in a second, so that her happiness could be shared with others. After confirming the actors, the crew is ready to start filming. But in order to play this role well, Xiaoziun read the novel several times and went to Taiba browser to search for related topics about the heroine. She had done everything with great enthusiasm and was just waiting to start filming. However, a bad luck fell from the sky. The director told her that the heroine had been replaced. Has the heroine been replaced? After passing the test fairly and impartially, she was suddenly kicked out by a second-generation celebrity from the lone team. Xiaoziun went to the director to ask about the situation, and the director told her explicitly and implicitly, this matter has not been changed. In this world, you can struggle with many people and many things, but no one will struggle with money. The director cannot resist the temptation of bringing in money, not to mention that the heroine is a second-generation star, and there are people above her who they cannot offend at will. Xiaoziun has thus changed from the role of the leading heroine to the second heroine, and she feels a huge gap in her heart. But she couldn't give up this opportunity that she didn't care about, so even if she was in the position of the second female lead, she was performing very seriously. Xiaoziun is not from a major, but her performance is extremely talented. This play was originally about an ancient royal feud. The heroine and the second heroine are both daughters of the Prime Minister's family, and they have been for tat since they appeared. After filming the two scenes, the director praised her several times, and the limelight even surpassed that of the female lead. As the second female lead in the second generation of stars and a professional actress, she couldn't believe that she was being compared to others, so she deliberately embarrassed Xiaoziun at that time. Being in the entertainment industry requires capital. She has the strength and was praised by the director for her good performance, but she also received jealousy from the second generation of stars. In just a few days, she was already very angry. While video chatting with Han Zhengyi, she couldn't help but vent her anger several times, but she finally held it back. Han Zhengyi is on tour, so he must be reassured. In this way, Xiaoziun ushered in the second male lead in the scene opposite the heroine. Xiaoziun thought that there would finally be fewer scenes with the female lead. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1118. Chapter 1118 The cute and charming villain. Xiaoziun had already changed her clothes when she saw him. She was wearing a green shirt and a white jade hairpin in her hair. She really looked like a handsome young man. Hey, second male lead, you really showed up. Because starting from the appearance of the second male lead, Xiaoziun will have fewer rivalry scenes with the female lead. The second male lead appears, and his style is indeed very different from that of the male protagonist. The plot of this play is that the first female lead and the second female lead are both daughters of the Prime Minister's family. The difference is that the second female lead is the legitimate daughter born of the mistress, while the female lead is a concubine who is favored by her own mother. The second male lead is their cousin and their childhood sweethearts who grew up together. He is as tall as a tree and is suave, making young girls who have just begun to fall in love with him fall in love with him. So the appearance of the second male lead intensifies the conflict between the female lead and the second female lead. As the legitimate daughter, the second female protagonist is self-proclaimed. After learning that the man she likes the female protagonist, she and her mother directly kill the female protagonist and the heroine's mother. The hero saves the beauty, opening up the emotional line between the male and female protagonists. After that, of course, the heroine has a golden finger, and with the help of the hero, she avenges her mother, and the two gradually fall in love. In short, the emotional line between the male and female protagonists is a common plot in costume dramas. It is very bloody, but the routine is deeply popular. The plot portrays the heroine as a perseverant, kind and brave person, but the second female lead is somewhat different. The second daughter has not been loved by her father since she was a child, and she can only rely on her status as the legitimate daughter to appear beautiful. Although the heroine is not as good as her, she grows up happily under the love of her parents. She is always in trouble with the heroine, but she is devoted to the person she likes. Even if the cousin later pursues the heroine wholeheartedly and sacrifices everything for her, the second heroine is still willing to accompany him and his mind will not change. The play specifically mentions the suffering of the second female lead and her unrepentant devotion to her relationship, which made the readers cry in the novel. In today's TV dramas, the villain setting does not necessarily mean that people will hate them. Some villain characters are even popular among viewers. When the time comes to film them into dramas, whether they can win the attention of the audience depends on the actors' ability. Xiang Yan came to the set for the first time today due to his schedule. You should get familiar with it first and get a feel for the scene. I heard that Xiang Yan also has some background. He has a strong background and even the director is in awe of him. I didn't come before, and the filming was postponed for 2 days for him. He is more arrogant than the leading actor. However, he is the second male, so it is inevitable to meet and get to know each other. Just when Xia Ziun wanted to communicate with Xiang Yan, the heroine went to talk to Xiang Yan in the name of looking for drama. He also emphasizes that he is a second-generation star from time to time and talks a lot. At this time, Xia Ziun will sit on the other side and memorize lines with peace of mind. In any case, with her current status, she couldn't afford to offend the second-generation seeing, so she just had to tolerate it. Xia Ziun read the script seriously and reached for the water next to her, but someone handed the water glass to her hand. She took it easily and when she looked up, she was so frightened that she almost spilled the water. How come this Xiang Yan suddenly jumped out and stood in front of her? Mr. Xiang. Xia Ziun quickly put down the water glass, stood up and greeted him. There is no way, she is not qualified to be a big star yet. Ms. Xia, I am Xiang Yan, who plays the second male lead in this drama. Please give me your advice in the future. The second male lead played by Xiang Yan is the cousin of the female lead and the second female lead. There are quite a lot of scenes with the second female lead. The TV series I followed on Chinese Valentine's Day recently, I feel like there are all cute and charming villains in them. I like it. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1119. Chapter 1119. The beginning of Xia Ziun's nightmare. I should be the one asking my seniors for advice and asking them to take care of me. Xia Ziun did enough to show off, and what he said was quite sincere. But everyone is acting, who knows how much is true and how false. After getting a little familiar, they finally started shooting. The heroine is framed by the second heroine, and the hero saves the beauty. There will be a long plot between the hero and the heroine. Xia Ziun can take a break. However, not long after she sat down, Xiang Yan came to her with the script and asked, "Miss Xia, do you want to come and act opposite me?" Xia Ziun suppressed the desire to be lazy and smiled on the surface, "Okay." It was only after a pair of scenes that I realized that Xiang Yan was really capable, and I quickly got the feeling for him. Xia Ziun also took it very seriously. The two acted very smoothly and even cooperated with some small movements. "I've been talking for so long, drink some water to moisten your throat." When the two of them paused, Xiang Yan immediately handed over the water. This thoughtful performance of serving really doubled people's goodwill. Xia Ziun thanked him and took it. He raised his head to drink water. A strand of hair hanging by his ears drifted to the corner of his mouth as he raised his head and lowered his head. She was originally holding a script in one hand and a cup in the other. Just as she was about to put down her things and free her hands, Xiang Yan suddenly reached out and brushed the hair away from the corner of her mouth. The fingers gently scraped across the cheek and tucked the hair behind the ears. The movement seemed a bit slow at that moment, and the unfamiliar touch made Su Yi stiffen all over. She quickly turned her head away and put down the water glass to cover up. She brushed her long hair and pretended to be relaxed, breaking the embarrassing scene just now. I think this line is almost right. Senior Xiang is really amazing. Stop calling me senior again, I just debuted 2 or 3 years before you. Hearing what Xiang Yan said, he changed his words very wisely, that Mr. Xiang. But this still did not satisfy Xiang Yan. Xiang Yan told her in a cheerful tone, Mr. Xiang, this sounds really awkward. You can just call me by my name. I'm about the same age as you. We want to shoot together, so we don't need to be so unfamiliar. Xia Ziun didn't stick to one title, and immediately changed her words according to his wishes. Okay, Xiang Yan. It's just a title. When someone takes the initiative, a tactful promise and a direct promise have different responses. Xia Ziun didn't expect that her change of words would actually give Xiang Yan an opportunity to change his name. Xiang Yan was very direct, since you called me by my name, I will also call you by your name in the future. How about calling you Yunur? Xia Ziun opened his eyes wide and blinked twice. Because when I heard those 2 words, I felt very rejected in my heart. This title sounds weird. Mr. Xiang Yan can just call me by my full name. Xia Ziun, the name is very nice, but calling you by your full name feels unfamiliar. I will call you Ziun from now on. Is that okay now? He, okay. Xia Ziun did not expect that Xiang Yan, who had a background, could be so approachable and enthusiastic. She was also a master of stand-up comedy. She would take the initiative to get acquainted with people who caught her eye, but she didn't like people like Xiang Yan. He sounded glib and definitely unreliable. Just because she doesn't provoke others doesn't mean that others don't have their thoughts either. Xiang Yan spoke directly, 11 Yun, you've worked the show today. How about having dinner together tonight? Everything depends on the title. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1120. Chapter 1120. My God, are you jealous? This, about eating, I'm afraid today. Just when Xia Ziun was about to politely refuse, Xiang Yan interrupted her. I told the director that I will treat the whole crew to dinner tonight, as my belated apology. Xiang Yan proposed to treat the entire crew to dinner, which meant something different. Xia Ziun breathed a sigh of relief and nodded in agreement. I heard something about Xiang Yan during the dinner. It is said that his family is very rich and he became an actor for some reason. However, some people are born with unusual identities and do things based on their likability. Xia Ziun thought about it and didn't care. Xiang Yan's sumptuous dinner won people's hearts, and he lived a happy life on the set. The shooting sequence does not necessarily follow the direction of the plot. When the filming of the male lead and the female lead's rivalry begins, the separate plots of the second male and second female leads will also be shot in advance. At the end of the plot, the second male lead was poisoned in order to save the female protagonist, which made the audience feel pity for the second male lead. Many people raised the banner of CP between the second male lead and the female protagonist. But when the male protagonist appeared, the female protagonist turned around and threw herself into his arms for comfort. Only later did she think of asking the male protagonist to help save the dying male lead. The second male lead was seriously poisoned and fell into a severe coma. At that time, only the second female lead took care of him and never left him. After the miracle doctor developed an antidote, the second female lead went to the miasma-filled dense forest to pick up the antidote herself, regardless of danger. She was disfigured by the venom and almost lost her life. The second female lead's unrepentant efforts saved the second male lead's life, but she did not use this as a condition to coerce the second male lead to repay her kindness. Instead, because her appearance was ruined, people concealed the fact that she personally went to danger. The second male lead blames the heroine for his kindness, and this heart-wrenching plot makes the audience feel heartbroken. Although they were disgusted by the second heroine's cruelty to the heroine, they were moved by the second heroine's unrepentant devotion to the man they liked. After the filming of this scene, the crew posted some behind-the-scenes footage on Weibo. The scene where the male and female protagonists sprinkled candy excited fans who were waiting for the broadcast to begin. The director seems to have taken a fancy to Xiaoziun, a good talent, and intends to promote her. He tentatively released a clip of Xiaoziun's unrepentant devotion to the male lead in the play. Result: a big hit. Nowadays, the audience likes to watch CP the most when watching dramas. Fans of novels are tired of seeing the scenes between male and female protagonists, but they find the addition of some plots involving the second female lead to be very strange. If the villain delivers the essence and emotion, his popularity with the audience will be no worse than that of the protagonist. Since then, Weibo has been full of requests: director, add chicken legs to the cute villain. Xiaoziun originally thought that her role as a vicious female supporting role would probably attract some negative fans, but when she saw the number of followers on Weibo, she was extremely pleasantly surprised. She couldn't wait to share the good news with Han Zhengyi: goddess, look at my Weibo, I feel like I'm going to be famous. My goddess Ya is amazing. I'm so jealous of the second male lead in the drama. The way a cousin shouted was so affectionate, deep, meaningful. It started out as a compliment, but later on it sounded like gritted teeth. Xiaoziun listened carefully, then held her cell phone and laughed in the room regardless of her image. My God, are you jealous? So, call my brother to come and listen. Bah, why are you becoming more and more shameless? You have ruined the image of a male in my mind. Tisk, aren't you my handsome man's little fangirl? Who said that? Did I say it? Yunyun, can I fly over to see you after my performance? Please remember how sweet it is now. End of this chapter.